Namaskaram Andy.
Namaste.
Narayana Srikuti. So what you understood yesterday section?
About Dharma?
Yeah.
Dharma,
Yeah, తెలుగులో చెప్పచ్చు పర్వాలేదు.
అంటే ఇప్పుడు ధర్మము కి నాలుగు పార్ట్స్ కింద చేస్తారు. అంటే ఇప్పుడు డ్యూటీస్ చేయాలి.
ఏమి డ్యూటీస్?
ఇప్పుడు అమ్మ నాన్న మాటలు వినడము, గురువుల మాట వినడం, ఎవరైనా చెప్తే వినడం, పెద్దవాళ్ళు చెప్తే వినడం.
చెడైనా వినేస్తారా? శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. స్వాగతం టు శ్రీ కాంచీ కామకోటి ధర్మమూలం ప్రోగ్రామ్.
శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. సదాశివ సమారంభాం శంకరాచార్య మధ్యమాం అస్మదాచార్య పర్యంతాం వందే గురు పరంపరాం. శ్రీమాన్ వెంకటనాథార్య కవితార్కిక కేసరి వేదాంతాచార్య వర్యో మే సన్నిధత్తాం సదా హృది. Dr. Gopal Pingali is an internationally renowned technology, innovation and transformation executive. He is an ardent student of Indian culture and philosophy and strives to apply these timeless principles of Sanatana Dharma in everyday work, technical excellence, leadership, and family life. He derives unbounded joy and inspiration from reading the original works of the great rishis and poets. Dr. Gopal has had the privilege of performing the Gita Jnana Yagna at the feet of Sri Sri Jagadguru Shankaracharya in the Sharada Peetham at Sringeri. Welcome, Dr. Gopal.
Now you can start, sir.
Om Narayana Samarambham Vyasa Shankara Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shankaro hi param dhamam Shankaram asritamyaham Snatva Shankara Gangayam Siddhim Buddhim Labamyaham Bhakti Marge iti matva Jnana Marge Pyaharnisham Yo vrajati prasannatma Madgurum pranatosmyaham. Annapurnashtakam punyam Kala bhairavasyaashtakam Stotrancha bhajagovindam Srikari stutimadbhutam Ya patati nityam bhaktya Shankarena prasaditam Tamaham mataram vande Sharmane Sharmadayikam. This way I bow to all the gurus, all the Guru Parampara, and to my parents, my mother and my father, who are the Pratyaksha Daivas, and bow to all of you. Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunadhaya Nadhaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. On this auspicious day, as Sitaramji said, we should really remember Sri Ramachandra. So, going to Sri Rama, I am really privileged to be in this very august group of Dharmamulam under the auspices of the Sri Kanchi Mat, Sri Matham in the eternal Kanchi Mat. And to be in this program is really a privilege for all of us to be able to talk about Dharma under the guidance of that great Jagat Guru. So with that, we'll go to the topic of today. I think you have been enjoying great talks from very, very renowned people, great Panditas. I am very fortunate to even be in this group talking with among them. Not being a Pandita myself, but I will certainly talk to you from my experience and my inspiration. Let me get to the topic.
आत्मैव हि परं सत्यम् आत्मैव परमं पदम् आत्मबोधं श्रुतिः सर्वम् आत्मस्थं परमेश्वरम् आत्मगन्धं सदा नादम् व्याप्तिपृथिवीमिमाम् तं वन्दे शङ्कराचार्यम् चिदानन्दं जगद्गुरुम्.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the topic for today is Sandhya Vandana. You have had great speakers talk to you in Dharmamulam, and this week you heard from the great Pandita Sri Sudarsana Sarma Garu. You heard from great Sri Arvind yesterday. And as we talk about Dharma in our Sanatana Dharma, Sandhya Vandana is very, very important and has been given a very great status. And I would like to talk to you about this from my experience. This is one topic. As I was asked to talk about this, I said I will bring a different perspective, not of a Sanskrit scholar, but one of, as you heard, I am a student, a very interested student of Sanatana Dharma, and interested in following to the extent that I can, Yadhasekti, in my life. And I thought I'll share with you, as one of you, both children and parents, as one of you, as my experiences and my inspiration in following Sanatana Dharma. So in this, the Sandhya Vandana was a topic that I felt comfortable talking about, because something I can really relate to, and I have been practicing for the last 35 years. And I went through very different English convent education, and I was in a public school. I've been in different parts of the world. I was in Africa, different parts of India. I had come back, and I was also in a quest for understanding what is this, what are we doing in our life, where are we going, what is all this, what we are doing, what is it about, as we were going through studies, and I was getting ready for engineering. And at one point, I felt a strong desire. I was studying a lot about our philosophy, our books, and our Dharma, among many other things. And I got a very strong desire to be more formally introduced, established in our practices. And I remember asking as a teenager, I requested that my Upanayana be performed so that I am formally introduced. And then I've started following and practicing Sandhya Vandana. And over the years, as I grew in life, as I studied, as I practiced, worked in various parts of the world. I've been in the US for 20 years and worked in various companies with people all around the world. I've studied various philosophies, books. I've gone to different programs, whether it is different gurus having their programs in meditation, or programs like Art of Living, many areas. Every time I come back with the conclusion that all that has to be practiced and understood has been captured in Sandhya Vandana. And it is such an ancient tradition that we have, a tradition that we have that has been given to us. So I call it a highly practical package and ancient package that has been handed down to us, and something that has been prescribed in our Sanatana Dharma. that is so practical today and at all times. And it has so many dimensions that you, if you think of Bhagavad Gita, how to practice Bhagavad Gita, the foundation of it is Sandhya Vandana, I feel. Similarly, if you go and study about yoga, study about different programs, all of that is already incorporated in Sandhya Vandana. So if you can follow this, it is such a good, highly practical package that's been given to us, both to encourage us in the path of spirituality and to help us grow and gain spiritual energy, and at the same time have all-round growth in all spheres of life that we engage in. So this is what Dharma is all about. Dharma applies to everything we do. This is what we are hearing from both Sudarshan Sarma Garu and from Aravind Garu about how this is our Sanatana Dharma gives us something that we apply to every aspect of our life, every day, every second. And for that, it's a great reminder, a great motivator, and something that keeps adding to our energy and growth. That is how I see Sandhya Vandana. So what I will do today is share my inspirations coming from both thinking about it, practicing it, and reflecting upon why do we practice Sandhya Vandana, why it is the very foundation of life, why it approaches things from such a broad and all-encompassing perspective that our Sanatana Dharma brings to us, and how it translates that into everyday action and growth. So that is what I would like to talk about. And since our Sanatana Dharma is so comes from such a height, from such lofty heights, we have to really step back and see what is this behind Sandhya Vandana. So if we have to think about that, it starts looking at the entire cosmos itself. Our whole Dharma is based on a view and an experience and an understanding of the entire nature of this cosmos. And our Vedas, our Vedanta, our Upanishads capture this amazing understanding and vision of this entire universe and its nature. And our Upanishads start with Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena dektena bhunjita ma. So this entire universe, that is the first declaration, that is the foundational declaration, that in this pervading this entire universe, the is divine. There is an all-pervading divinity in everything that is moving and unmoving, that everything that exists in this universe. And our conception of this universe is tremendous. It is Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda, that's what we talk about. There are millions and millions of galaxies, this entire universe in its infinite dimensions of space and time extending. And this entire universe is pervaded by a divinity. And the beauty is we come from such a great culture that has captured this. And if you take the Bhagavad Gita, which is such an amazing summary, and the very essence of all the Sanatana Dharma, and Jagadguru Sri Adi Shankaracharya wrote an amazing Bhashya commentary on this, as you all know. And there itself, in the very introduction, very beginning of the introduction of this Bhashya itself, you see this wonderful conception of this universe. And there, Shankaracharya says, Narayana paro vyaktad andam avyakta sambhavam andasyantastu me loka saptadvipa cha medini. So this is an amazing conception. So just like Isha Avasyamidam Sarvam, that Lord, that divinity that is all pervading is called Narayana. that is beyond space, time, that is beyond all that we see in this universe. Behind and beyond all that is Narayana. And Narayana Paro Avyaktat. See, all this manifestation comes from the unmanifested, Avyaktat. And even beyond that Avyakta is Narayana. Narayana Paro Avyaktat. Andam Avyakta Sambhavam. This whole universe, this whole cosmos is called Andam, an egg, a cosmic egg. That this whole cosmic egg has come from the unmanifested. That there is something unmanifested behind this manifested. Andam Avyakta Sambhavam. Andasyantasthi me loka. All these that you see on this, all these stars, galaxies, planets, various, all these worlds and lokas that we see are all just within this cosmic egg. And that has come from Avyakta, and even beyond that and behind that is Narayana. Andasyantastu me loka saptadvipa cha medini, including our planet with its 7 continents. What a wonderful conception. So in this universe, this is our conception of the universe. And this whole life, this whole purpose is to understand, realize, and experience the divinity that is pervading all through this universe and all around us. And this is so reflective of what science is discovering today. It's amazing that our Sanatana Dharma in our Vedas, in the Puranas, and in, just like you heard now, in the Bhagavad Gita, captures this conception of this universe that we are beginning to see today with the Big Bang theory, and how from nothing everything has manifested, how the universe is expanding, how it is infinite, and behind that there was an unmanifested form that caused this manifestation. And we go beyond that. Our conception says it's not only this Big Bang that created this universe expands and then contracts again and then expands again. So Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Vidhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Te Ho Ratra Vido Janaha. This is the day and night of this Brahma is encompassing 1000 Mahayugas. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Vidhu. And similarly, there is 1000 Mahayugas of Ratri. This is our conception of time. Look at the conception of space and time. And that it is going, and Avyakta Vyaktayas Sarva Prabhavantya Haragame Ratriagame Priliyante Tatraiva Vyakta Sangike. At the break of day, this whole manifestation of all these universes happens, of all these lokas happens. And again, at the time of night, all goes back into the unmanifested. And this is the cycle of this universe. What a wonderful conception. And this is saying, and it is from that stage we go, and then it goes all the way. This all pervading is not only in the macrocosm, but it goes down to the microcosm, into every particle, every sub-particle, into atom and the subatomic world. And again, this is and pervading all of this, and behind all of this is the divinity. And this divinity is said to be beyond space and time, beyond causation. Everything comes from it, but it is beyond all of it. And it cannot be captured in space and time. And today, as we go into the subatomic world of quantum world, again, we are seeing very similar language. We're saying, we don't know if it is a particle, we don't know if it's a wave. We cannot say. It depends on who is looking at it and how they are looking at it. It can be both. You cannot say it exists in this place or that place. We cannot even say exactly where it is. And we see this blurring of the subject and the object. We see the blurring of space and time. And we see that what we thought is very concrete reality, physical world, is something so subtle and so mysterious. And this is again echoing what our Sanatana Dharma has been saying. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam ascharyavat vadati tadaiva chanyah ascharyavatchaina anyas shrunoti shrutvaapyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. That's how this divinity, this divinity pervading this world has been described. It is so amazing. So many people hear about it, so many people talk about it, and yet nobody can understand it. Very, very few can understand it. And that is what has to be realized. Anor aniyan mahato mahiyan atmastya dantor nihato guhayam tamakrato pashyati vitashoka vitashoko dhatu prasadan mahimanam atmanaha. Again, such beautiful language. Anor aniyan, it is subtler than the subtlest atom, and yet it is greater than the greatest cosmos. Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan. Such is the divinity and our true nature, the reality, the ultimate reality that pervades this universe and which is in all of us as well, which is we call on the one hand the Brahman and within us the Atman. And Atmascha yantor nihito guhayam. Now all of us is the Atman. It is behind everything. It is that which has to be known. It is within us. It has to be experienced. It is the basis of our consciousness. It is the basis of all our experience. So this is what has to be realized. So Sanatana Dharma comes to us with the nature of the universe, the nature of the human being, the nature of both the cosmos and the subatomic world, and what it is, this human life is all about. So it is in this context that we see the human being as a tremendous being. One, we just talked about Janto, Atmascha, Janto Nihato Guhayam. In every creature is the Atman. Situated in every creature is the Atman. And among all the creatures, the human being is in a very tremendous, given tremendous potential and tremendous opportunity to take the energies of this universe and convert it into action. Has the power of thought, has the power of consciousness, has the power of meditation, has the power of realization. So this human being is the tremendous potential. So Sanatana Dharma tells us that this life is about realizing the greatest potential of the human being, because that is what this Atman, this divinity, we are capable of realizing and experiencing and converting into everyday life and imbuing all our life. Life becomes both a journey towards it, and realization converts into how we live our life. It goes as a continuous cycle that is driven by the greatest Dharma. So that is our conception of this universe, and that's why we say Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. It is such a privilege to get this life of a human being. So it is with this very deep and great view that we look at the universe and this human life. So we are born as human beings. All of us have this potential. But Sanatana Dharma, our Dharma, has said that we live in this world, we don't remember this potential. We go about our activities. We are in a state when this tremendous potential is there. We are living our life most in ignorance. We are born, we get into so many activities, we are completely consumed by them. We are so absorbed in these activities, go through the process of life, and finally there is death. And this life goes on. For the vast majority, that realization of the potential, that enlightenment does not happen. But Sanatana Dharma gives us so many examples and irrefutable examples of this human potential and how many people have realized it, and says this is what the real purpose of life is, to go beyond this ignorance to enlightenment. That is why we say we may be born, but there's notion of a second birth. Can you hear me? I heard some.
Please
sound.
go ahead, sir. There is some
Yeah.
noise actually. Somebody just put on mute. Okay,
No
sir.
problem.
Please go ahead. Sorry for it.
No problem. So how do we realize that potential? And in fact, our Sanatana Dharma says you are really born when you go from this path, from this status of avidya, of state of ignorance we are in, to a state of vidya. Vast majority of us go through a life, even though we are studying, we do so many jobs, we go through all this, still we are in a state of avidya. We are in a state of ignorance. And our whole Dharma says vidya is the goal. We may think Aishwarya is the goal, Bhoga is the goal, but really knowledge is the goal. Vidya is the goal. We have to go from avidya to vidya. Avidyayam antare vartamana swayam dhira pandita manyamana dandramyamana paryanti muda andhenaiva niyamana yadhanta. That's beautiful saying from Kathopanishad, saying all of us are immersed in this avidya, and yet we think of we are so great, we have so much, and we know so much, and we go in so many crooked ways, lost, and we lead others too, like blind leading the blind. And this is what we need to go beyond. And that's why we have the great examples, the great gurus, the great people who have realized this. They are the great inspirations for us and living examples of there is a state beyond. There is something more we can aspire to. And it's only when we go in this path that we are truly taking a birth. This is what we call a second birth. And this is what we have nicely captured in a traditional way through this whole ceremony, where is called Upanayana, where it is called a second birth. A person is getting, so far they were born and they were living a certain life. This life is going, this is a second birth, a true birth into the way of spirituality. And here you are going from avidya to vidya. You are going from asat to sat, from false, from what is unreal to what is real, from darkness to light, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, and from death to amrita. It is possible to get amrita. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrutyorma amrutangamaya. That's how we are going into this. This is truly the second birth. And so with this enlightened living, and with this seeking and knowing the foundation and purpose of life and what we should seek for in this universe, that is how our Dharma gives us the inspiration and prescribes us the way. And in this, Sandhya Vandana is very important. And with having taken this second birth, all of us have to practice this. Now, Sandhya Vandana itself is a wonderful practice, bringing the greatest philosophy that we just talked about, the greatest seeking of the Atman into everyday life. In every day we do so many things. Spend a few minutes really stepping back, going deep into yourself, connecting with the universe, thinking of where you are, what is our purpose, and energizing ourselves, inspiring ourselves, and motivating ourselves, and willing to go in the path we should be going in. This is for everybody. This while there is a very symbolic and very crystallized, wonderful process of this second birth, this applies, the concept is universal. It applies to everybody. And all our dharmas and all our teachings are so universal. So every day, as the sun rises and as the sun sets, these are the dawn and the dusk are the most wonderful times, conducive to meditation, conducive to this connection, conducive to taking higher thoughts and being in a state of calmness. Can we take a few seconds, few minutes to step back and go deep into ourselves. So that is Sandhya Vandana. This is something everybody can perform in one way or the other. It is not associated with, the concept itself is not associated with any caste or creed or gender or nation. Everybody practices it in some form or the other and can practice it. And connecting with that time, connecting with this universe, and doing a sankalpa of what we are seeking, what we want to be, and what we will be that day, seizing that moment, and resolving to be in the moment and really experience and grow in life. That is our resolution that we take. That is sankalpa. And this sankalpa again, for us in all the Sanatana Dharma, when we perform pujas, and all of us should do Sandhya Vandana in some form or the other, whether we are men or women, getting up at that time, stepping back, lighting a lamp, sitting in meditation, doing puja to the Tulasi, or doing the meditation. All these are important. And there we have this, again, in the sankalpa starts with this. That's why I call Sandhya Vandana a tremendous package. Again, it comes from the highest state. We start with a sankalpa. We position ourselves in space and time and in the nature of this universe. Sri Govinda, 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 Mahavishnu Pravartamanasya Adya Brahmanaha Dvitiya Paradhe Svetavaraha Kalpe Vaivasvata Manvantare Kali Yuge Pradhamapade. That way we position ourselves in time, in this great universe that came from this, in this current kalpa, in this current Mahayuga, in the time of this Manu, in this Kali Yuga, and so on, right? In this particular year. So you position yourself, you go from the highest level and come down to, oh, in this great universe I am living. This is another day I am living in this universe, in this infinite space and time. And I have to go resolve myself to bring all this energy of this universe into me and grow and illumine, get illumined. With that resolution, that is the sankalpa we all perform. What a great, see this, the greatness of Sanatana Dharma in the sankalpa itself. And to do this, we take this sankalpa. What is this sankalpa we are doing? To do what? So thinking of ourselves at this time, yes, it is to seize the day. Then there are two foundational principles that are very, very important. This is my view, inspired by our Dharma. We do the sankalpa with two very great foundational principles that we, and those are yoga and yajna. At this wonderful time, as the sun rises, as another day begins, and again we remind ourselves as the sun sets, and the tradition in the middle of the day also we remind ourselves again as the sun is at its peak. But we, because we are in this path, we have to remind ourselves this is a great way of being constantly on the path and reminding ourselves. And we remind ourselves, we take the resolution of sankalpa to follow yoga, to practice yoga and yajna. So what is this yoga and yajna? All of us, now yoga is such a universal term today in the world. Everybody in the world almost knows what is yoga, and they have various ways of understanding it. So if you see, many people associate this with yoga, and it's a wonderful set of exercises. It is also associated with wonderful balance, wonderful control of the body and control of the mind. And many people practice this wonderful all over the world. And increasingly, people are practicing in various settings. They are practicing in, I have seen in corporations. Now there are many movements in many corporations where they take a few minutes and go and sit down and meditate. The various terms like mindfulness, heartfulness, so many terms have become popular, or yoga itself. And people are taking a few minutes to go within themselves, connect, and go to a higher state of action and energy. Yes, yoga is all of these things. But we have We are the people, it's our Sanatana Dharma that has introduced yoga, and its conception is amazing. And there is the Bhagavad Gita, which captures, this is called the Yoga Shastra. It's an amazing teaching, an amazing treasure that we have that captures all the essence of Sanatana Dharma, all the Vedas, the Upanishads, and converts it into a very, very practical teaching that is applicable to everybody in the world across all times. And in this Yoga Shastra, Sri Krishna teaches Arjuna what is yoga in so many ways. And this is all something we can understand, learn, and adopt. And the Sri Krishna teaches us that yoga is not something that you practice only for a few minutes a day. It is not only when you sit in meditation or when you do a certain exercise. Yoga is something that one has to perform and can practice. It is the greatest practice that can do in every second, in every action and every work that we are doing. And this is the, and me, this yoga comes out in three ways from the teachings of our Sanatana Dharma and the Bhagavad Gita. One, most importantly, is in action, in work. Yoga, Sri Krishna teaches us, is yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is mastery in doing work. Yoga is efficiency in doing work. Yoga is being able to do our work so wonderfully, so that it is externally so beautiful, efficient, and internally it is not something that burns us out, but one that helps us blossom more and more, increases our joy and growth and realization. This is how work can be performed. So that is yoga karmasu kaushalam. The other thing, it is a wonderful attitude. It is mukta sango naham vadi dhrutyutsaha samanvitaha siddhya siddhyo nirvikaraha karta satvika uchyate. Who is the masterly performer? It's not what you do. Sri Krishna teaches it doesn't matter. You can be dancing, you can be teaching, you can be sweeping, you can be doing computer science. Doesn't matter. In every work that you can do, you can bring this wonderful attitude. It is not being attached to that results of the work, but being a master in how you do the work. Mukta sango, not attached. Ahamvadi, not egoistic. Yet dhrutyutsaha samanvitaha, full of determination and energy. So enthusiastic, full of determination. Siddhya siddhyo nirvikaraha, not disturbed by either success or failure. In either situation, you are performing your work so wonderfully. That is your attitude. Such an actor, such a performer of work is the true yogi. So that is yoga. And the other is, as you grow in yoga, you see that what is in me is in everyone. All these differences are so artificial. The reality is one. There is oneness in all. Sarvabhutastamatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshinaha. So the one who is in this path of yoga, one who has realized yoga, sees oneself in everyone and everyone in oneself. Sarvabhutastamatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshinaha. This is yoga. And that sankalpa that we do in Sandhya Vandana every day, as we see this wonderful universe, this sun rising and our part in this universe, remember that it's in our work, in our attitude, and in our oneness that we have to experience. And we remind ourselves of that, of this is what, and energize ourselves with that such great thoughts. This is what Sandhya Vandana is. So everybody realizes this, as in all cultures, that excellence is doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. And this inspiration and this whole attitude is what Sandhya Vandana gives us. So this is the path of yoga. And the other is yajna. Now, many people, of course, all over the world talk about yoga, but not as many today talk about yajna. And yajna, of course, is a wonderful ritual, wonderful practice, wonderful tradition. It is a wonderful dharma practiced with offerings, with taking up the fire. Such in our Puranas, in our Bharata, Bhagavata, all of these, we see Ramayana, we see great yajnas being performed, and the whole procedure is described. So many yajnas doing such greatness for the world. And again, the Sanatana Dharma also gives such a great philosophical dimension and such a practical dimension that applies to everybody, and universality to this concept of yajna as well. In fact, yoga and yajna are two sides of the same coin. And Bhagavad Gita tells us that our work should be done as yajna. Yajnardhat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadardham karma kaunteya mukta sangas samachara. So Sri Krishna tells us that any work that is not done in a spirit of yajna is binding. The moment you perform it as a yajna, it becomes liberating, it becomes illuminating. So as long as we are in this small selfish mode, then we cannot be yogis, we cannot be yagis. So everything has to be performed as a yajna. Yajnadhat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. And this yajna is something, is again Sri Krishna tells us, Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantvah parasparam bhavayanta shreya paramavapsyada. This yajna is going on all the time. This whole universe is in fact yajna. This whole universe is running because of yajna. So as a human being, we are receiving all the energies of this, the great yajna, in whether it is in our breathing, in our digestion, in our action, in our thought, everywhere this energy conversion is happening. A great yajna is happening, and we are contributing back to the world. So today, many people, the Gaylord Nelson, who started the Earth Day, as people are realizing that this whole world, you have to be conscious of the environment. You have to be conscious of all these energies we are taking and how we use them and contribute back. We have to be doing it with a higher state of conscience. And here we see the ultimate test of man, sacrifice something today for future generations whose words of thanks will not be heard. People are realizing this, but our Sanatana Dharma has this as the very foundation and goes far even more. In fact, we exist. It's not that it's a test of our conscience that we will contribute to future generations. First of all, we should realize that every second we are living is because of yajna that is happening in this universe. It is all this solar energy that is coming to us, the living God that is sun in front of us. Everything that is happening is coming from that energy. Everything that we have in this body, we owe to so many. We owe everything, all these trees, all this air, all the water, everything we owe to this world, to the Pancha Mahabhutas around us, the 5 elements of nature. We owe so much to our ancestors. We owe so much to all the people who preceded us, whether it's in philosophy, whether it's in science. We owe so much. If we experience all these gifts that have been given to us, and we just don't give back anything, and we are selfish, and we don't participate in this yajna, evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati hayah aghayur indriyaramo mogham partha sajivati. That's what Sri Krishna says. This great cycle of yajna, this great cycle of universe that is going on, of interdependency, that is what we are benefiting from. If you don't do your role in this yajna, and you just take and remain selfish, and aghayur indriyaramo mogham partha sajivati, useless and deluded is one's life if you don't realize your part in this yajna and you don't perform this yajna. So in this way, our philosophy teaches us, our dharma teaches us that life is all about yoga for self-development, and the other side of the coin is how that converts into great action. And the people who perform this yoga and yajna are the role models for this world. And it is not just a role model, it is the very basis of growth and realization. It is the basis of joy. It is the basis of going beyond space and time. As long as we remain this small, selfish entity, we cannot realize that wonderful nature within us. That is, and Sandhya Vandana both connects us to this universe, reminds us of this yajna that we have to perform today, and this the great reality that is within us and that has to be realized, and how we have to convert, inspire ourselves and convert that day into a yoga and a yajna. And because it is so easy to forget and be lost and be deluded and go back into a mode of avidya. So this is the way we remind ourselves of vidya again and again and inspire ourselves. So that is Sandhya Vandana. And so this is the greatness of our Sanatana Dharma. And so as we see, we talk about Bhagavad Gita, we've been talking so much. We see this wonderful, practical nature of this Sanatana Dharma. It is not just a mere philosophy. It is not something that you go only in forests or in some cave and practice. It has to be converted into action in everything that we do with such great spiritual and practical energy. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Pardho Dhanuddaraha, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So that great spiritual energy of Sri Krishna, the Yogeshwara, and that great practical energy of Arjuna, that we have to bring into ourselves and perform our yoga and yajna in all that we do. So this life, every action that we do can be elevated, can be made greatness and realization. This is the Sanatana Dharma. This is the message of the Sandhya Vandana. And in the Sandhya Vandana, I don't mean to go into a very detailed procedural explanation of the Sandhya Vandana. I will continue to talk about the main elements in a few minutes. And what is this? What are the things that we do? And the first thing that we do in Sandhya Vandana is purification. Because if we have to simplify our Sanatana Dharma and this whole path of yoga, it boils down to this: the pure in heart, the pure in mind. People who are pure will realize God here and now. It is only impurities that and realizing that God within us. So it is a daily act of purification that we perform. Uttishtantu bhuta pisacha ete bhumi bharaka etesham agrodhena brahma karma samarabhe. That's how all these evil forces within us, like the lust and anger and fear, them disappear from within us. Let us become pure. Let us be pure in heart and mind, action. And for that, we are performing this great karma. Yadannat kurute papam tadannat pratimuchyate. Yadratriyat kurute papam tadratriyat pratimuchyate. So we say in the Sandhya Vandana, whatever the wrong things I have done in the night, let them be gone in the night itself. Whatever I have performed wrong in the day, let them go in the day itself. Let me renew my resolve to be pure. Let us purify ourselves. And this purification we do through reminding ourselves of our true nature. Apavitra pavitro va savas Yasmaret pundarikaksham savahya abhyantara suchihi. Even if I have done all kinds of bad things, if I'm an apavitra, or even if I'm a pavitra, I'm doing good things, whatever states I have been in, I can renew myself, because fundamentally within me is divinity. And there is Pundarikaksha within me. Within my heart, if I associate my conscience with this Pundarikaksha, this divinity within us, then both externally and internally we can become pure. In this way, we practice. This is the purification. The other is we associate with the time. And as I said, the Sandhya is very important time. It is a wonderful sync with nature. It is the nature every day happening, this miracle that is happening in front of us. What greater God can we see right with our eyes than the divine sun that we see every day? Pratyaksha Deva. This is the Narayana visible to us. Everything we have, every food that we eat, every plant that is there, everything in this world, every cell in our body, all energy is coming from that divinity right in front of us. And it is such a great example of continuous giving, continuous following of Dharma. And because every day the sun rises and sets, not 1 second it goes out of path. And every time it is giving to all of us, the Father, Mother, God is the sun. So thinking of that and connecting with that divinity in front of us, that is very important. And so whether, that's why we say Udyantam Astamyantam Adityam Abhidhyayan, whether it is rising sun or setting sun, this is the fundamental. All of us can benefit from this. Get up early in the morning, be before sunrise, experience that rising sun, pray to that rising sun, show your reverence to that rising sun and to the setting sun. Udyantam Astamyantam Adityam Abhidhyayan Kurvan Brahmano Vidwan Sakalam Badamaste. You will get all goodness, whether you see from a health perspective, whether you see from mentally, psychologically, philosophically, everything. So many benefits from doing this. Sakalam Badamaste. So this is the very divinity that is manifest in front of. We have such great thoughts. It is Sandhya Vandana. The other very important is pranayama is part of Sandhya Vandana. The breathing exercise, simple breathing exercise, it is far more than that. This yajna, pranayama is also yajna. Dravya yajna, stapo yajna, yoga yajna, stada pare, swadhyaya jnana yajnascha, yatayas samshita vrata. So many, everything can become a yajna. Apane juhvati pranam, prane panam tadha pare, pranapana gati rudhva, pranayama parayana. Yajna. And it is also the wonderful path of meditation, because prana is the very force of life that flows within us. And by controlling this and elevating it, and you can go into a deepest state of meditation and realization. Whole yoga of Patanjali, we have different forms and ways you can practice yoga. The whole Ashtanga yoga of Patanjali is based on is wonderful systematic way of progressing in spirituality, progressing towards realization in a very scientific, experimentally proven, verifiable, realizable way. That is the amazing path of Ashtanga yoga that has been set by Patanjali. And here in Sandhya Vandana, all of that is also incorporated. See what a wonderful thing Sandhya Vandana is, what a wonderful practice. If you see the Ashtanga yoga of Patanjali, we talk of Yama and Niyama. These are disciplinary practices. Yama, Niyama, Asana, how we sit. Again, Sandhya Vandana, Asana is so important. Right? And you have to sit in a Sukhasana or Pasana and bring with your back erect, head back and neck in a straight line, and just practicing that itself at that time of dawn, dusk, is such a elevating practice. Within that, you have, so going back to Ashtanga yoga, you have Yama, Niyama, Asana, pranayama. This pranayama is the wonderful, practical, systematic way of controlling the breath, controlling the mind through the breath. Because through the breath you can control the mind and you can focus the mind and calm this lake, this disturbed lake within us, which you can calm and bring it to its stillness. You can see the very nature of this lake, the very bottom of this lake. So pranayama is a wonderful procedure. Pranayama, pratyahara. Then you go more and more, you are able to take your senses away and focus inwards. Then there is dharana. You are able to concentrate and meditate, go very deeply. Dhyana, very high state of meditation, leading to samadhi, the ultimate experience of divinity. So this very systematic way has been set up, and in the Sandhyavandana every day we bring in this pranayama and progress in this path of Ashtanga Yoga. And so this is also part of Sandhyavandana. And then in all this we can see whether it is doing the vandana of the sun, this pranayama, this practice of meditation, all of this everybody can practice. And for those who have the Gayatri Mantropadesha, one can always perform various japas, but for those who have the Gayatri Mantropadesha, there is the Gayatri Mantra, again a wonderful aspect of our Sanatana Dharma, where Ayat Varada Devi Aksharam Brahma Sammitam Gayatrim Chandasam Matedam Brahma Jushaswame Tadannat Kurte Papam Tadannat Pratimuchyate Tadratriyat Kurte Papam Tadratriyat Pratimuchyate. That way we think of, let us purify ourselves, let us go into Mother Gayatri, and that great mantra and Japayatri is also performed in Sandhyavandana. And behind this again, there is, what is the foundation there? It is the Omkara. And Omkara is the very foundation of Pranavas Sarvavedeshu. That's what Sri Krishna says. I am Omkara in all the Vedas. This is the very foundation of our philosophy. It is so universal. It is the foundation of everything. The Omkara, one can talk any number of years about Omkara and still understand it. But we know, if you think of the Omkara, it is Akara, Ukara and Makara, and all converging into silence called Omkara. This is, so when I read the lectures of Richard Feynman, some of you have young students, you have read the famous lectures on physics delivered in the 60s by the Nobel laureate Richard Feynman to first year students of at Caltech. Famous celebrated lectures. One of the things he says that I remember is, if we all disappeared from this planet, and if you have to give some piece of knowledge that you have to still leave, so that we know our understanding has to be expressed to people, we say that we understood that this world is made of atoms, and this is how the atoms are, and that's what we'll pass on. I thought it's a wonderful idea. What great science advancement has happened, and we are now able to say there are atoms, and we can pass on that knowledge. Then I was reflecting, our Sanatana Dharma for thousands of years has had such great realization and conception of this universe. And they have summarized everything, all aspects of this universe already. Even if everything is gone, there will always be the truth, and that truth will be expressed as Om. So it is universal. Akara represents this entire universe that we experience, and these senses and this waking state that experiences it, and that consciousness which is aware of this external universe and this waking state, that is Akara. And yet behind this external manifested universe is the elements, the foundation, that which is behind this external manifestation. there is the internal thought and the whole internal microcosm that we have within us. And there is the state of dream where we can go lost into this inner world. All these are represented by U. And behind all this, that which is unmanifested, which is the cause of this entire, both the external universe and its subtle forms, and which is this deep, which is also associated with this state of deep sleep, where our consciousness is gone, this deep sleep, and that consciousness is aware of this state of everything which is in deep sleep, that is Makara. And behind and combining all this and going beyond space and time is the combination of this and that which is beyond all this. So our philosophy, akaro ukare, ukaro makare, makaro omkare, ukaro ham yeva, ama sati kevalas chinmatra swarupa, jnanat karyam kintu nitya suddha buddha mukta satya swabhavam paramananda madhyam brahmaham asmiti abheda avastham samadhi. This omkara, this, what a wonderful journey. Also incorporated, this is the very foundation, the very heart of Sandhyavandana. So if we see this whole universe to be realized within ourselves, that great meditation on Omkara, that is within Sandhyavandana. And with that great state and with that great motivation is how we go back and act in the world, having withdrawn and gone into that state. In these times of dusk, we go back and perform our work, our yoga and yajna with that realization. Finally, dear friends and families, the other very important aspect of Sandhyavandana is a tremendous sense of gratitude. So we express gratitude. O namo namo gangayamnyo munibhyascha namaha, sandhyaya namaha, gayatre namaha, savitre namaha, saraswatye namaha, sarvad sarvebhyo devata namaha, devebhyo namaha, rushibhyo namaha, munibhyo namaha, gurubhyo namaha, pitrubhyo namaha, matrubhyo namaha, kamokarshi munyokarshi namo namaha, prudhivyapas tejo vayurakashat. This is, we say that. And so we are expressing our thanks to the sun. We are expressing our gratitude to all the elements of nature, the earth, the water, the air, the sun, the light, right? And this space, Prithivyapas Tejo Vayu, this body, it's only a combination of all this. Constantly we are having these gifts. We should have a sense of gratitude, this great gratitude to all the elements of nature, gratitude to all directions, all the great people in all directions, to our parents, to our ancestors, to our gurus, to our rishis, to all the people who have contributed, because of which we are enjoying this life and our health and our happiness. Gratitude. And then we, again, in everything, we are thinking of the divine. This Namajapa throughout this Sandhyavandana. Om Keshavaya Swaham, Narayana Swaham, Madhavaya Swaham, Govindaya, Vishnuyana, Vatsudhanaya. All the Keshava Namas constantly repeated. Then we Namostrantaaya Sahasramurte, Sahasramat, Padakshi Prabhake, Sahasnamne, Purushaya Saswate, Sahasrakoti, Yugadharine Namaha. We have that great reverence and bhakti. It is a great act of bhakti that we perform with gratitude to that immanent divinity which is all around us and giving us so much at every second, every moment. That is also part of Sandhyavandana. So that is why I call this an amazing package that brings so many elements together and connects with nature and gives us such inspiration. And it is our dharma to perform this Sandhyavandana. It has been prescribed to us. This is a nitya karma. This has to be performed every day, because This is so important. This so elevates us. If we are in our path to spiritual energy, to growth, to being role models, to being contributors, to go on the path of illumination, we bring so many of these elements together and see the greatness of Sanatana Dharma. That's why I think whether it is the Gita, whether it is the Vedas, whether it is the wonderful practices we hear from so many gurus in so many forms, all of that has already been packaged for us in this amazing form of Sandhya Vandana. So it covers all aspects. It is bhakti, it is devotion, it is a great realization and knowledge of this universe, both in its macro and micro aspects. It is so it is also jnana. It is bhakti, it is jnana. It is also dhyana. It is a great form of meditation. It leads us and guides us forward in bringing meditation. And most importantly, it also is a karma. It itself is a karma yoga. It is itself a yajna that we are performing, Sandhya Vandana. And it establishes the foundation for us to perform yajna throughout the day in every action that we are performing. And it's so easy to forget. So we re-energize ourselves, recharge ourselves, bring us back to this great state again through Sandhya Vandana and at those wonderful times. So traditionally, we have to do it 3 times, in the morning, in the mid-afternoon, and at dawn, mid-afternoon, and dusk. So Trikala Sandhya, that is prescribed. Asakti, we have to do it to the extent we can, because it is such a great gift and such a great foundation for all of us. So, so that's why we associate with this. And as we conclude the Sandhya Vandana also, we remember our identity, remember the great dharma we come from, the great tradition we've come from. We remember our rishis. Every one of us remembers our gotra, our rishis, and bow to them. Remind ourselves that we come from such a great tradition. In our dharma, in our tradition, people don't go back to, oh, I came from this king or from this rich person. All of us say, I come from this rishi. Because from this person this great rishi who realized. So we chant the name of our rishis and we say, thinking of them with their blessings and identifying ourselves with this great tradition, with these great rishis, rishi parampara that I come from. I will go into this day and seize this day and perform my yoga and yajna for today. That is why all great people in all ages in our Sanatana Dharma, they have said this is something that has to be performed, Sandhya Vandana. So here is the famous, wonderful words from our great Kanchi Paramacharya. Karmas such as Sandhya Vandanam are the most important. There is nothing loftier than them. So that's why whether we see in all our books, whether it is Sri Rama, Sri Krishna, everybody performed without fail Sandhya Vandana. Even Ravanasura performed Sandhya Vandana. So all of those stories we have heard. So it is something that we can practice in our own way, learn about it. Whoever we are, in some form or the other, definitely we can perform and practice Sandhya Vandanam. And those who have the privilege of having the Upadesha and have the Upanayana, it is our bounden duty. It is the greatest dharma for us. It is an inevitable dharma for us. It is for our own realization and growth that we have to perform Sandhya Vandanam. With this, I will conclude and thank you all for listening to me. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. This is the time of Krishnashtami is round the corner. This is the great month of the birth celebrations of Sri Krishna. So let us think of Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Sakshat Shankara Rupaya
Yeah, Gopal. Sir. About our Nitya Karma Anushtanam is one of the part is the Sanja Vandanam, and you covered very well on women, girls. There is a different way of doing it. Swamiji also said few times like for them it is a Deeparadhana, Tulsi Puja, and then little Nama Japam in a day at the Sanja time is important for them. It is their Sanja Vandana. When it comes
And
to the us, yeah, please go ahead, sir.
the women are the very foundation of our culture.
Exactly,
Without
sir.
women practicing, it is the very, without that, there is nothing. And it is because every day women are performing Sandhya Vandana that this Dharma is continuing.
Yes,
And,
sir. And
that is
we are oriented topic, but I thought it is by listening it, they will enforce their kids to perform this. So that is what we thought it is. It will help them in the future to listen to it. At the same time, there is a Nitya Karmanushtana. It goes from Sanjavandanam to the Samidadanam and then Rushi Tarpanam, Nitya, and then also further to it go to the Panchayatana Puja. It is the way you wanted you can increase it, and that depends on need of it. So Sanjavandanam is a basic thing. We have to do it in minimum, and I'll go one by one the question.
Why can't girls do Sandhyavanam and why do boys only do it?
Okay,
I-
good question. Yeah,
so
please
this is
go
what we
ahead,
are just discussing, Hamsini. The overall practice of this is universal, right? As we said, it is very important and it is prescribed. The getting up at the time of dawn and doing the performance at the time of dusk, lighting the lamp, doing the nama japa, thinking of meditation, doing meditation. All this is prescribed for everybody, and this is something. In fact, the dharma runs because girls also perform it, and it's so important. And without that, there is no foundation. And girls
I'm
also
very soon. I'll
can,
share the part of it, sir. I'll share with them all the girls and women. We have a Gruhini program. The Swamiji designed it as a Gruhini program for the women. So in that, it will explain it in a lengthy. That is what they can do in a part of Sanja Vandanam. We will very soon. We'll share that topic. Yeah, please go ahead,
So
sir.
I'm saying, will the practices be exactly the same for both men and women? There are some differences, but the whole notion of Sandhya Vandanam is very applicable to both.
Okay, thank you.
And one more
Did
thing.
you find it, Hamsini? Did you find what we talked about relevant to you also? That you thought it's only for boys, or it's relevant to you also? All the things we talked about.
Yeah,
Because
it's relevant. It's also relevant to me too. Yeah.
Nitya Karmanushtana, Mahapeva said one upamana, like what he compared it is in a cycle pedaling. Do some little fast doing the pedaling, and then we will rest for some time. It will push you to some extent, and then again you do the pedaling, right? So Mahapeva said, this is a Anushtanam, Nitya Anushtanam and the Sanja Vandanam is the same way. Whatever others done it in the past in our ancestors, they pushed, they might have done very heavy. So we are eating those fruits. And every time he says that who is doing it for you? What about your next generation? So you have to do it for next generation and yourself. So it is a cycle pedaling is a one example Mahapeva shared it. So for Nitya Karmanushtana.
The scenario, it is not possible for us to do three sandhya. At times we do morning sandhya only. To be honest with you, even evening sandhya is also not possible for us. Okay, then of course we are managing with the Kshamarpana mantra and performing the sandhya. But is there any way for this, sir? Number one. Number two, my question here. Gayatri Japam. When we are doing this Gayatri Mantropacharana, recently I came to know that we should not count either with the hand, fingers, or even with the japamala. So we should not
We
count, it
cannot,
seems.
it should not, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I heard, sir. Recently, I came to know. Before that,
But
I used to count with the fingers only. But now someone has told us, okay, not to count Gayatri mantra with either with the fingers or with the japamala. Is it true, or how to manage 108 times?
he understood. Before that, coming to the Trikala Sanja is important. And again, we'll say one time or two times. It is again, it is just like a doctor says that is a you have to have a 3-time meal or a 1-time meal, whatever he suggests. If we say that is no, I only do this, and that is again depends on the how you wants to survive yourself. And about the counting with the fingers and other thing, there is no such a kind of a thing exists as far as we have not come across. Gopal Gar can explain these two questions again further on these points. Please go ahead, sir.
So again, I think it is best to get the answers for these questions from our authorities, right? And we are fortunate that even today, if you look in the web itself, you can find what Sri Vijayendra Saraswati Shankaracharya Swami has said about this, what the Sri Jagadguru Shankaracharya of Sringeri has said about this. All of them say it is so important you perform it. You do yadhasakti. You don't see, because so many people say, ask them, can you give us alternatives? We are not able to find the time to do this. There is no, they say, look, you find time for so many other things. Don't say that you don't have time. You do it for as many minutes as you can. And it can be performed. It can be performed yadhasakti, but you can perform it. There are ways to perform this. That is to the first one. And realize there may be challenges performing it all 3 times, but there are also ways of, as you said, you can chant a prayaschitta mantra and do it at a different time, but you can perform the sandhyas. And about counting, honestly, sir, I have also learned when I was taught to count with fingers. I was not taught that that is not allowed. So I don't know if there is something against that. But I should also say over time, I have been doing it, doing with pranayama. And during pranayama, I don't need to count with fingers, because it is so many times when we are breathing in, so many times when we are holding it, and so many times we are doing when we are in the Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka phases of pranayama. We do the Gayatri Mantra Japa, and that automatically gives, by the time we do cycles, it's in my case, it is 4.5 cycles when we do. It's 108 times normally happens. And I found that both wonderful and very, very elevating. But it is again better to get the answers from true authorities on these questions. I'm only talking about my personal experience and what I have learned.
Yeah, what you said, right? Not getting time is again nobody can say answer that for that one. But coming to the answer to that finger counting or japamala, there is no such a restriction on that for sure. And Sarvi, yeah, Varshini, please go ahead.
Namaskaram, Gopal Garu. I just have a question regarding sometimes in japas or mantras, we're told to do them 108 times or 9 or 11 times. Is there a significance to those numbers, or just like what's
There is so there is definitely a significance. Again, these are so deep, and sometimes you have to not every aspect we know the full explanation too. but there are definitely prescribed numbers for different kinds of japas. So Gayatri mantra ideally should be performed 1008 times is what is prescribed. A shorter form is 108. Otherwise, the different systems have the different numbers that can be performed 4 times or else 28 times or 10 times is what I was taught when in our parampara, and there are slight variations in different paramparas. I've also heard that it can be performed if not 108 times, perform it 36 times. That is also something. But I do not have a direct answer to your question, but there is a very
Okay, sir.
there is a significance to these
Yeah.
numbers.
Coming to the number and other things, it is when we have something kind of a guru upadesam, some guru gives us something saying that is you have to take it from that, and that will have some kind of a restrictions on the numbers and all mentioned it. When it comes to the normal japa, normal kind of a thing, there is no restriction as such. There is no limitation for that. You can go ahead and do it anytime, anything. But when particularly the Guru Upadesham, that kind of somebody given it to us, inherited some kind of a mantra, some kind of a thing, and whatever the Guru says, we have to follow that Guru's order. And yeah, please go ahead, sir. You want to say?
And there is definitely a depth in these explanations, because they have very subtle effects, and they create a certain waves and resonance. They go through all the body. They also relate to various forces of nature. So these are very deep what has come, because the more we go into it, the more we realize how deep it is. So it is almost like a chemical formula that is given to you. When you have to take this medicine, you have to take so much concentration of this and so much concentration of that and mix it. It is given as a certain formula. You may not see, when you take medicines, you are not asking how did they exactly come up with so many milligrams of this medicine and how much of this concentration versus that. There has been a lot of research that has and learning that has gone behind. We have to take the medicine in the prescribed way. It is better to look at it here in this way, because it comes from a very deep understanding, and not every aspect we are able to go into and understand. It's better to take the medicine as prescribed, because that will give you the effect.
Yes, sir. Actually, when it comes to the Swamiji, even you heard of that. Today he asked us to everyone to recite some kind of a Nama Japam, and he given a number. And sometimes he will say Hanuman Chalisa, he will give a number. Sometimes he will say Saundarya Lahari Sloka, he will give a number. So when Guru says something, and they will now that is how many times has to be done. There is some kind of a. So those times we have to follow them. Otherwise, it is just on our will. We can do anytime. Are you all right with this answer?
Yeah, that was my last question. I forgot to unraise the hand.
Thank you so much for such beautiful, lucid, and amazing presentation today. My question is three-part question. Sorry for that, but it's a three-part question. First one is regarding the Gayatri Mantra. Is it a modern myth that women should not be saying this mantra? First thing, or is it like that women should not be doing the japa of Gayatri Mantra? First thing.
So we'll answer, and again we'll come back to the second part.
All right.
Okay. Coming to the answer to your question, there is a Gayatri. Every mantra, there is some kind of a restrictions exist, and as it is a guru and the particular thing. As somebody even in a modern education, we say that everybody cannot do operation. Somebody has to follow that something and study something. So that as Gopal Garu even previous answering that, there is some logic behind it. We have to go to understand that logic. I'll request Gopal Gar to further answer on this part.
Again, I don't say this as an authority, Andy, but what I have learned is that this particular mantra, and this is not prescribed for women, it is prescribed for men, is what I've heard. Of course, there are so many other mantras that are performed, and in the context of the Sandhya Vandana, I think we need not be lost by this subtlety of whether this particular mantra has to be performed, who has to perform. I would go more for, here are all the things we can perform, and we have to perform, and be more focused on what we can and should do, rather than focus on this one aspect of whether we are allowed to. If we are said it is not allowed, there are so many other things we are allowed. So, and so that is how I would look at it. Although even today there are different interpretations, and some people do prescribe and teach Gayatri Mantra to women also. But traditionally, that we have heard, and certainly the Upanayana ceremony and things like that are for boys. But that doesn't take away any of the universal message or the Sandhya Vandana, the practices. And it is equally, one can meditate, and there are so many things that we do have millions of japas and mantras that we can perform. We can do, because there are so many ways. Why worry about whether we take up the one that is being questioned, right? Is my view. Because doing is much more important. Even for those who are prescribed, so few are following it. Following is much more important, and realizing all the things that we can do and practicing them is so much more important. And there is no dearth of that, right? And there is no restriction in the path to realization.
And also, I remember that is maybe there are few things which we are all not know that. One of my grandparents, he told me there is every mantra when they recite it and they perform some kind of a ritual on that part. There is a purification mantra also exists, and there is some kind of a restrictions on that particular mantra, when to say and which days to say. So such a kind of depth exists on each of every topic and each of every mantra carrying it. So I think maybe in that point of view they might have said that, but what I suggest is maybe we have to stick to the whatever Guru says.
Yeah, thanks. So my second question is, in the past, women also had yajnopavitam. Am I right in saying this? Women
Yes,
also
it
had
is. Yeah. Yes.
So when did this process stop, where women stopped wearing the yajnopavitam? And do you, I mean, can
We
you
have
let
a
us?
yoga dharmas. Actually, we are coming in a future in different dharmas. We are coming. We have a Vishishta dharmas. We have a Samanya dharmas. We have a yoga dharmas. So it comes under yoga dharma. That particular yoga, yes, there is a that exists, but Kali Yuga is not supposed to. That is already mentioned in one of our Puranas. It is in Kali Yuga, it is a Nishedam. So that is where it stopped it actually. So we can whatever references you see is that is not in a Kali Yuga for sure.
Okay. And my third question is, basically there are in our Varnashrama, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas wear the yajnopavitam. What about the Shudras? I mean, is it why is it nishedam for them? Is there any reason
I'm
particular?
coming to, yeah. It is a commonly asked question, and every time Swamiji, many times he explained it. There is a as it comes under Yoga Dharma, and Veda Patanam is only restricted to the Brahmins in the Kali Yuga, and Upanayanam is only for 3 people. And because it is maybe a kind of a the lifestyle and in a modern yoga and the kind of habits we have it in a modern yoga, all these are all the part of the restriction. But that doesn't mean that is they are not supposed to do any kind of other than the Sanja Vandana. There are a lot many things they can do, and even Puranas gives a lot many slokas. It is more powerful than Tyagaraja or Ramadas or what they got. They are all went through the Namajapa, but that doesn't mean that is a we have to stop it. They also done a Nitya Karma Anushtanam. Along with that, they run it as regularly as a Namajapam. Namajapam is the one which took them to the kind of to moksha kind of, and whatever is a happiness they wants to reach to. And again, it is they never felt it, they don't have a time to for doing that, so they felt it all the time they have it for that only, so they got it that happiness. And I'll request Gopal Garu to answer further
Yeah,
on
I'll
this
just
part.
add that I think the greatness of our dharma is it ultimately recognizes the universal truth that is one and all, and that is beyond all caste, creed, nation, all kinds of divisions. It is our dharma is so universal and beyond gender, beyond nation, beyond religion. It is about a fundamental truth that exists and that is realizable by all, right? And so in that it is so comprehensive and so universal, and it is just like science, right? There's nothing that one can, and everybody can go on that path and can realize. Now, when it comes to, at the same time, there are also the practicalities of which kind of where you are born, what culture you are in, what gender, of course, makes a big difference. And so also what kind of work you do, what kind of family, all these matter in terms of the practicalities of both what kind of work you naturally need to take on and what kind of practices that can be prescribed naturally for that setting. It's not saying that, so through this, so the whole dharma is about how to give you the natural set of practices that will help you grow in the various dimensions that apply to you. And Sri Arvind also yesterday talked about, right? There is janma, there is karma, and there is guna, and all these aspects have to be considered. Now, so that's why the prescription is there. And my tendency always is there is enough within the prescribed activities for us that there is so much to do that we can focus on that rather than worry about what Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmat Swanushtitat Swadharme Nidanam Shreya Paradharma Bhayavaha. It is better to follow all the dharmas that we have been prescribed, and that the problem is we are not even following those, right?
Right, sir. Exactly, that is the point I was going to come. The people who are authorized to do it, they themselves are saying that no time and they are not able to do it, and a lot of questions raise in. And the people are not supposed to do, they come and say that we want to do it, why you are stopping it? And the second point is again, when it comes to they have a lot of things to do it, and like bhajana they can do the namjapam slokas, and even Purana, there is a Namakam exists complete in a sloka form. The complete Namakam, whatever we recite, it is a sloka form, it is given it. So they can do it. It gives the same, it mentioned it in a Purana, that particular doing that one, you will get exactly same power of whatever you do in a Nicha Abhishekam. So there is alternatives given to them. That is the reason they said go and do Puranas for them. Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
So just a couple of points I'll make is in the entire our Sanatana Dharma, it is not possible to find a statement that only certain people can get the realization of the ultimate truth. It is something that everybody can. So it is not said that it's only a certain gender or a certain religion or a certain, no, it's very, very universal, first of all, right? So it is something. So different methods are prescribed for different settings, but that all reach and are capable of reaching that. And also so many examples where this universality is given, whether I think recently Sudarshan Sarmagaru also gave the example from Bharata of this of the Dharma Vyadha. Right? There is this the wonderful incident in the Mahabharata where there's this Brahmana who gets this great powers. A bird falls because he looks at it angrily, and then he goes for his alms. He is feeling bad about that bird. He got angry and it fell dead right away. He was thinking, oh, on the one hand he's proud he got the power, but he's also feeling disturbed, and he goes begging for alms. There is the lady who forgets to give him arms because she is devoted to her husband as is taking care of him. So, but then he realizes that she is able to tell already about him. He says, when he gets angry with her, she says, "Don't be angry with me. I am not a bird who is going to fall dead." And he is surprised. Then he says, "Just because this is mainly because I have been following my dharma so diligently that I got this jnana and this power. And if you want to get more subtleties about this, go to Mithila. There is a certain person called Dharmavyada, go look for him." So this Brahmana Kaushika goes all the way to Mithila, and Mithila is the place by King Janaka, where he fully supports everybody following their dharma, their respective dharmas. He realizes that dharmas are different for different people because of various reasons, but he encourages all of them to become elevated through the performance of dharma. So he goes and see this Dharmavyada, who is actually a butcher. He is doing that, and he is not even able to stand there. He comes to the side. Then Dharmavyada comes to him and says, "Namaste. I think you have come because that Pativrata sent you." So in the time of no cell phones, he is able to tell that. So again the Brahmana is surprised. And he takes him home. There is the highest flights of philosophy in the teaching of Dharmavyada to this Brahmana. And he says, and he talks about, the Brahmana asks, "How do you know so much? How did you realize so much?" He says, "To the following my dharma." This is the yoga and yajna that everybody can perform. Right? So he is saying, and one of the biggest things he says is to devotion to his parents. He shows his parents, and he is so devoted to them, the old people. He is completely serving them, and he has been following his profession, and with purity in his heart, and so on. So, and how he talks again. If I interpret that, he talks about how he gets up early in the morning, how he performs all his pujas. So there is a Sandhya Vandana described right there in the way of what Dharmavyada follows Sandhya Vandana in his
Exactly,
own
sir.
way.
Yeah, that is true.
Namaskar, Gopal Garu and Kopala Garu. I had a question about evening Sandhya Vandanam. So does it matter what time to do it, whether you can do it at 5 p.m. or 11 p.m. in the night? Does it really matter what time?
It does matter, Sumed. It is, see, the time is very important because the time is, this is done very much in synchronization with nature. Nature naturally, as the dusk sets in, the whole nature reaches a certain state of calmness, and that reflects in our mind and body as well. And that is the best time to perform that Sandhya Vandana. It gives naturally, it is Samyak Samaya for Dhyana. That's why it's Sandhya. And so it is the time when it is naturally conducive to meditation, going inwards, reaching a state of balance, reaching a state of meditation and motivation. So prescribed time is in the evening, during sunset time. You should start before the sun has set, and before it becomes dark, and go into that period of the transition between light and darkness into the twilight. Similarly, in the morning, you should start before sunrise and be in the darkness and see through the transition from darkness to the break of dawn. And so those are the prescribed times. Now, ideally, we should perform at that time. If we are not able to, for various reasons, then it is better to perform at the time we can. And there is a Prayaschitta mantra to say, okay, I'll still perform it. It's still much more important to perform it than skip it. But ideal time is well established. In fact, some people give it very precisely also at these so many minutes before, like 48 minutes before the break of dawn and so on. Right? So they are very precise prescriptions, but it's simplest way to look at it is it's at that time of transition from night to day and day to night.
Yeah, it is able to follow it. Still suggested that is with Prayaschitta you have to do it. It is just like a medicine. You take it in time and you will get a more power. And if you are just delaying it, and then you have to struggle for some time with the pain and then take it. Yeah, we are in a modern life. We are So it is, but it is important to do it.
Question would be about the benefits of Gayatri Japam.
Okay, it is not a product where we say that is what are the benefits and risks and manual with all these things. It is given. It is as Gopalgar already explained it. It gives you ample power. It is, there is no restriction, as he said. Like in a human, there is no end. It gives you, empowers you, like your ultimate power. So it is up to you how you do sadhana and then get into. Gopal Garu to answer further on this particular point.
Yeah, the ultimate is what we started with, right? That's why I started with what is this whole life? What is our, so we are in this small sphere thinking of ourselves as this entity, and our potential is unlimited. There is the divinity within us. How do we become one with the divinity? How do we let the divine shine within us? How does this, and this is the whole basis of Sanatan Dharma. And Gayatri Mantra is one wonderful way of realizing that divinity. So what is the benefit? It is that Sayujyam Viniyogam. It's Gayatri Chando Viswamitra Savita Devata Ajna Mukham Brahmastra Vishnu Hridayam. And so on, we say that Sayujyam Viniyogam, becoming one with divinity, is the result, is the benefit of Gayatri Mantra.
Our Puranas also explained it. So many stories are exist how they are benefited. One of the stories is Vishwamitra. So that gives you ultimate power to him that become a Brahma Rishi. Power he is given it, and from that mantra. So there are so many, and you can just go and look into the Purana stories.
Most important, Sumit, is to realize that all our practices are not mere following something for the sake of doing it, and everything is about being and becoming. It is about realizing and becoming one with divinity. That is really the goal. That's really the benefit, and that is where we grow.
It answers your question, right, Sumit?
Yeah. I don't have any further questions. Thank you so much for answering.
Okay. And
yeah, thanks, Kompala Sharma garu and Gopal Pengal garu. One question, it's like a follow-up question on the Varnasama thing, right? Even Bhagavad Gita, the 18th chapter 41 was saying Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Shudranam Chaparantava Karmani Pravibhaktani Swabhava Prabhave Gunaihi, right? So one thing is the duties of these four varnas described not by the birth, by the nature, the gunas of the individual person is what we keep hearing it. Now, are we applying the restrictions, what we talk, based on the birth of a person, or again, are we applying based on their qualities or gunas? If that is the case, it's a little bit of you see what I'm asking, right?
Yeah, we understand your question. We have a complete lengthy discussion on the Varnashrama and their Dharma rules and all. I think that gives you a larger kind of understanding for you. The answer more on this to Gopal Garu.
Yeah. So again, my view here and is there is a certain importance given to birth. There's no doubt about it, and this is very practical also, in my opinion, because there is so much that comes from centuries of tradition and of background. One becomes very good in a certain line when your parents, your grandparents, and ancestors have been following a certain line. So there is one cannot count that, and it is very natural also, and it is very and of course world has been changing. There is a lot more mobility and change and ability to perform various things today, so we'll come to that. But especially there is, if a Veda Dhyana is there, so much practice over. I mean, people born into that and learning it with as they grow up. And also it is not just learning it, right? It's a tradition that comes. It is in their genetics. It is in their. And it's not something that is biased here. That is a very natural evolution and perfection in a certain area that happens. And
tomorrow section we are
we can
majorly
do
focusing
that.
on the question, answer, and interaction. So
Okay.
there we are
Yes.
going to answer him, and I can give
Right.
him a live examples of some kind of a business community. What are
Right.
their skills, natural skills, and as well as an IE Brahmin, where is a hair cutting person is from childhood he is able to very smart to handle his fingers and all without cutting any skin and all. So this is all
There
comes
is that
in a touch,
aspect
right?
of it also.
Yeah, we can discuss tomorrow. And please go ahead, sir. We can.
Yeah, the last point I wanted to make is when we also see examples that you see Vishwamitra himself is a wonderful example, right? He was a king and he became a Brahmarshi, right? So again, it is not saying that is entirely everything is determined by birth. But there is also, one should not discount. The only point I was trying to make is don't discount, don't underestimate the power of the family you are born in as well, and the natural tendencies and dharmas that come with that. That it is far greater to uphold and continue and excellent and be excellent, because our dharma never looks down on anyone. All are considered wonderful. And that is the greatness of all kings and all great rulers who make them. Like we gave the example of Janaka or Sri Ramchandra. All of the citizens feel exalted in their own dharma. That is
very okay. Yes, sir. I like I said, it's not more contradictory, more confusion for me in the sense I'm not questioning the greatness
exactly,
of.
I know.
Yeah. It's more
we
of
understand your maturity of it, and
okay.
that is the reason I take a liberty to say that is a tomorrow we'll go in a lengthy on this part and then discuss on it.
Thank you.
Okay, and
is Sandhyavandanam only restricted to Brahmins, or can anyone else do it?
that is already explained in other questions.
I did, so maybe as we say, the concept of Sandhya Vandana applies to everyone, and it is something that we can, for all human beings, can perform the reverence to the dawn and dusk and elevate ourselves spiritually, elevate ourselves motivationally, and go towards the ultimate realization and ultimate truth.
But the content is different.
Because what exactly is done is slightly different for different people. They can be practiced in different ways. That's the short
methods
answer.
and the methods and the contents are different for the different people, but there is a Sandhyavandanam Nichyanushthanam exists for everyone. And we even have some kind of a stories like elephant going and praying it to the head, and spider going and doing it. So we are not restricted only to the humans. It is even in animals also perform that kind of skills on it, and we have stories for that. So, but the method and the contents are different. That answers your question, Kaushik. Is it all right?
Yeah, that's all. So this is actually an extension to what Mr. Raj has just asked. So Adi Shankara himself says, Karma Chandaludu kante Jati Chandaludu melu అని చెప్పేసి. So my question.
He's not said that.
He hasn't said that?
And even in fact, when he is come in front of the Chandala also, there is a sloka is a different, and the what people say is a different. But that again we can explain it in the later when we come to the sections of Sankaracharya, Adi Sankaracharya. That time we are going to explain. Sankar Vijayam we are going to take as a topic. So that time we are going to explain.
There are some people who have Yajnopavitam but don't follow their dharma properly. But there are people, like yesterday we had this Varnashrama discussion with Mr. Arvind. He says that karma yogi, I mean, whatever, karma Kshatriya, karma Brahmana. So all these people are doing, though they are not born in that particular Janma, this thing, as a Brahmin or something, but then because of their karma, they are doing these things. So are we restricting those people for Yajnapavitam? Is it
Okay,
there might
we understand your question. Let me answer this. It is considered as a karma prashtutvam. It is held as the going from one dharma to another dharma. Even it is nobody is even Krishna himself said like you have to stick to the your dharma. But somebody is going that is not at all allowed or accepted it as a better practice. So when we accept that part and then we say that is then why not this one, but that itself is not accepted.
I can give you my view. See, one expresses one's nature and one's tendencies and inclinations through what one does, right? So you have great professors, you have great philosophers, you have great workers. So it is through what one has to do. So the main is the actions one performs and the perfection one reaches in those. So if somebody is in that very sloka that somebody quoted earlier, Ramakshatra Visham Shudranam Parantapa Karmani Prabhaktani Prabha Svabhava Prabhavair Gunai. And there itself it says Shamodamas Tapashaucham Kshantir Arjavamevacha Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam Brahmam Karma Swabhavajam. So first of all, you have to associate with these characteristics and Shama, Dama, Tapa, Shaucha, Kshantihi, that great, tremendous patience, Arjava, that means no crookedness at all, very straightforward. Jnanam, Vijnanam, Astikyam, that is our goals are knowledge and experience, and it's never so. But in contrast, Shauryam, Tejo, Dutidaksham, Yuddhe Chapya Palayanam. So being very fierce, being an expert in war, going and fighting. That is the nature of. So first of all, if you are perfecting in those ways, you naturally tend to practices that benefit you there. You whether so it's a more difficult question to answer whether we follow a particular tradition, like do we go through a karma like yajñopavit dharana, because that comes with a certain tradition and a certain practice. It's done in a certain way. Now my focus would be on what are the characteristics and how one is growing in that, and in that area you tend to go to the gurus that will support you in that area, and you will get the appropriate prescription given your background, and because these also have to be done a certain time in certain way. So there are a lot of restrictions when we say a certain practice has to be followed, because it has come with a tradition which has been optimized for doing in a certain way, in a certain family background, and promoting you in a certain way. Now if you stick too much to that practice, then it becomes a problem. I think that needs to be more guided by a guru, but it has to be more focus on the real question probably is what kind of facilities do we have to naturally promote one's innate nature and tendencies and help them grow is the question. And I think there is many examples of how one can do that.
Exactly. So in fact, like the major problem these days, it comes as like at the moment you say no for somebody, then they start questioning that. Then rather than the what is given to them, it is whatever is kept in the plate they don't want to eat. The moment you say I hide it something in it is not for you, they'll leave complete plate of meal and then they go for that whatever is in that. So that is a general attitude is these days built up. So rather than whatever you have it and then think of other thing, just like a Vishwamitra, and then do and achieve it. And there are some rules for that.
And I mean, there is no restriction to anybody reading Bhagavad Gita, following it.
Right.
There is no restriction to anybody reading the Puranas and following them.
Right.
There itself, there is so much.
And one hand we are saying that is one hand we are saying that everything exists in a Purana is almost as a Veda is exists in everything in a Purana. So, but still they don't want. They say that is a one hand they'll say they don't understand the meaning of Sanskrit, and they don't understand the mantra, and they don't understand something. They don't want to. They don't have a time to do it. But other hand they'll say whatever is given in a simple form for them and to on of Puranas, and again on Puranas there are so many giving in a commentaries on it, simplified commentaries, but still they don't want to follow that. Yeah, it is, I think we have to answer it, but it is a tough to answer in convince somebody in this kind of angle. Your hand
I
is still
hope
raised?
it helped.
Yeah, I think that is okay, sir. No questions. And tomorrow we will have an interactive section. The complete tomorrow we Gopal Garu also going to be involved in, and it will be complete interactive section with the participants, and to answer the questions and as well as look for something what is a need in a future, and also how we will crystallize whatever we learn from all these sections. That is all going to be discussed tomorrow. So please do join us tomorrow, and it really helps us to consolidate and what is happened and what is going to happen in the future. Thank you, Gopal Garu. Very good explanation, and we're looking forward to you for tomorrow's section.
Namaste.
Namaste,
Thank you,
sir.
everyone. Have a wonderful time, and hope you have been enjoying these sessions.